Welcome back. This is Ganesh Kumar again. Actually, I will continue from my previous session. If you look at, we have covered different folders in previous sessions. Primarily, where the boot in detail and SMT media, SRV, they are all not having much text. Actually, they are all up. They are not containing much. Now we have some of the critical directory structures which are in the file system. They are all etc. Lib, I have given basics of etc and lib, and now primarily etc, lib, usr, and what we have home, root folder, and some other folders are there, which is sysproc and tmp. These are all there we have to cover. If you, I will sysproc tmp I will cover at the end. Actually, if you look at the now we will go at very simple ones like root and home. If you see the root and home folders, root is a directory. Basically, always in most of the standard distributions, root is a folder. Separate folder has been created for a root user or admin user. Basically, Linux has a representation of a user called root user with UID 0 and GID 0. He is provided, most of the standard distributions, he is provided a specific directory for the root user called /root. This is because this is given from the /only directory, because we have a flexibility to keep this folder as a separate partition, or and security point of view also it helps a lot. Actually, coming back to the home is a directory where we can mount all users directories, home directories. And if I see in this particular system, is the root user for the, see, in a home there is a abi, which is a user available on the system, and this is the directory contents of your, let's say when you log into your system, home/abi is your home folder, and let's say you are logged in as a user as some abcd, and home abcd will be created, and inside that there is a lot of directory structure which is created. Basically, if you look at this structure, desktop, downloads, video, picture, all these directory structures are created inside that, and desktop is the folder where it is associated when whatever the content you are creating on your desktop, all those contents will be updated on the desktop folder, and desktop folder is managed by your file managers like Nautilus, Tunar, or PCManFM. All these kind of file managers will manage the desktop folder actually. And if you look at the downloads, your browser downloads, everything is will be always kept in the downloads folder. And usually for a given user, let's say hidden files are there, like you have the .profile files, .bashrc, all these are the bash history, all those files are specifically created, and .config is there. All these are files which are created for the user. .config contains all the configuration data for the given user, user-specific configuration data. And if you look at the .bashrc contains the initialization of your bash the environment, the shell environment, and bash history contains all your command executed. And if you look at there are a lot of hidden files. Along with that, your standard directory structures are there. All this directory structure can be also customized. That means you have xdg folders in etc where you can user.var.conf is there, where you can completely alter how you want your home structures are there. You can rename and you can do it. With those, customization is provided by all the distributions. We can whatever you want, you can directly restructure the directory. And maybe I will go those into the customization of standard distributions for different use cases. I will cover maybe kiosk use cases, different use cases. In that I will cover in the later classes. Maybe for these specific classes, I work closely with Abhimicro, and you may have to join a course conducted by Abhimicro on Linux kernel, Linux internals, and Linux application, or the BSP customization and OS customization courses. If you want to, you can always check with www.abhimicro.com. Actually, I work very closely with Abhimicro. That way, you can always I can provide provide some details if you want, or you can always go to www.abhimicro.com and you can get the details and you can register. I provide weekend offline or as well as online training on the Linux file systems and Linux internals primarily on with the Abhimicro devices. Now, we coming back to the, I will go some details about the customization later. Now, if coming back to the remaining folders, whatever we left, TMP is the temp file systems where we keep all the temporary files for the system requirement. For example, any seed files temporarily generated, or any temporary directories, or any temporary files required for updating some values of the data values which are required for some of the applications. And one simple example is that if you see this, see Pulse is one of the audio server. Audio server which is creating a temporary file for some internal keeping. Actually, these files are kept in the TMP. TMP is usually TMP is a special file system. Actually, I have not gone deep into the different file system types provided by Linux kernel, but maybe in later classes I will cover that actually. But if you look at the TMP FS, is TMP file system is TMP directory is primarily mounted with the TMP FS. TMP FS is a kernel file system where kernel provides a special file system where we can mount this temporary files in the RAM. That way, this whole memory for the TMP file system is provided in the RAM, and it's a volatile. And that way, once the system is restarted, TMP will be cleared off, and that way we will not use the secondary storage. And one advantage for this is it is faster to access and faster to use also. And another advantage is that since it's a temporary data, after the reboot, we don't want to keep those data. That is the advantage of TMP. And now coming back to the other two major file directories, etc and lib, and user and sys and proc. We will cover that. And I will go now into the little bit of details into the etc folder. See, etc is one of the major directory structure in the Linux actually. If you look at the etc, if I see the list, the etc, right, there are some important, it has too many directory structures, but I will cover some of the major ones. And major ones are, if you look at primarily the cat. See, this is one of the very important base file for a Linux system to come up actually, because host contains the details about what is the because you are using a system and you want to use this is very primarily most of the at least minimum yellow loopback device is very important in any Linux operating system. To have this system to basic things to work actually, at least host will contain the details about what is the loopback IP address and its name. Like one, if you see the mapping is there 127.0.0.1 is mapped to localhost. Host contains a mapping of the IP to host name. That way, this can be resolved, and usually this file has the highest priority in the etc/nswitch.conf, where we can always name server resolution is carried out based on the priority of the NSWitch actually, and host as a, and host is one of the very important, and most of the time if you look at present scenarios, networking is one of the critical requirement for any desktop operating system or mobile or any headless operating. Maybe the systems where we are not using the networking at all, maybe this may not have any relevance, but 99.99 host has a lot of relevance in the existing Linux use cases or requirements. If you look at the host name, and if you see my system's name is Debian, right? Same thing is there in the host name. You can see that if you see the cat, the host name, this file contains the host name, and if you look at these files like these are all when you log into a system, right? If you log in from a root console, you can easily see that these details are coming actually. Let's say I will show you that actually if I do the let's say if I log into the system, whatever the files which are issue.net or basic issue.net, when you are logging through a remote like SSH or remote, it will be displayed when you are logging in. If you see there is a, in this when I do the Control Alt F1, and you can see that there is a message is coming Debian GNU. Same thing is kept in the issue, and which can be modified, customizable. You can always customize this issue actually. Now I will come back to other two major files called you can see this. If you see the stability file, right, there are a lot of users which are created in the, these are the default system users, and there are a lot of users for the distribution actually. Services user, system user, and normal users which are logging into the system actually. And these all users are may have a entry in the password, and you can see that the UID, and if you look at one user example, if I take an example of if you see the user UID and GID of the ABI user, it is 1000, and you can see at the end what is the name of the shell to be executed after you log in, and name of the home directory also mentioned. And that way, same thing if I do last time I explained, right? home/ABI is the folder. Same way, if I you can see the UID of the root is 00, and the /root is the home directory of the root. This can be customized by using, and as Unix system same groups and users are always maintained by password and group files. Also there is a shadow file also. Because for the modifications which are unauthorized modifications which we can do, to avoid that shadow files also there. And all this authentication and logging is managed by something called PAM. Linux has something called PAM is the framework, and it has all the for each and every system login applications, console based login or desktop based login, it contains PAM as a rules how to log in, what is the way of authentication. Can you use a simple password based authentication, or can you use active directory based authentication? Open LDAP you have to use, or you have to use smart RFID card based authentication, or smart card based authentication, or do you want to use some kind of a fingerprint for logging in, or you want to use iris or face detection. All this can be managed by PAM. PAM is one of the basic systems by Linux, which will provide a different way of identification and authorization, authentication, something like identification and authentication module, something like IAM modules are available. This provides complete security management for the Linux system, and this is very critical for the Linux actually. Now etc contains all these folders. So I will cover another important folder in the etc is that